Good morning. It is 9:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. We got a lot to get to today. I got a few friends joining the show. Morgan McMichael will be calling in around 9:35. She was at the executive order signing yesterday where Donald Trump banned men from women's sports, and we'll talk to her all about that. It's another one of those things where, like, I'm excited to have somebody that was in the room because I watched it, right? You watched it. We saw it happen, and we watched a lot of the videos. I'll play some of the clips for you. But I'm always more concerned with, like, or curious about the procedural. What door do you walk in? Is there a check-in process? Is there a booth that you need to go to? How many forms of ID do you have? Did you have to check in with Secret Service beforehand? Maybe these are the weird questions that only go on in my head when you visit the White House for an event like this. But how early did you show up? Were you late? Like, these are the questions that I have. So I'm going to ask her all of these questions. And then I have another friend coming in. He's going to be live in studio 10:05. Bo Diddle is coming back. We got story time with Bo. He was at the protest yesterday at the Tennessee State Capitol where they were yelling about Elon. And he was also at deportation protests in Dallas over this past weekend. Bo is like one of the nicest guys that you could ever meet. And he always puts himself in the most precarious situations. So he is going to give us the breakdowns on a lot of these protests. And I have other questions for him, too. How do these protests, compare to some of the protests of the past? He did tell me that the Dallas protest, the anti-deportation protest, was one of the most that he felt uneasy about ever, period. They did threaten to shoot him. So I'm sure that helps with the uneasy factor. If you're feeling uneasy, that doesn't exactly help. So we'll have story time with Bo. That'll be at 10:05. Looking forward to that as well. And then, Donald Trump and his team just keep working. We have a lot of updates from DOGE. We have updates from the executive order that was signed, and we have updates on the border. But I want to begin today with Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi she's here, man. She's ready to go. And she's not wasting any time. She has already ordered the DOJ to pause federal funding to sanctuary cities. You got to love it. You got to love it. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi has ordered the DOJ to pause all federal funding to sanctuary cities, according to a directive issued Wednesday, shortly after she was sworn into office. This woman is not wasting any time. None at all. I like this. I think it's a good first step. I would like the Epstein list, too. I think we will get that relatively soon, Lord willing. Bondi also instructed the DOJ to identify and assess all funding agreements with non-governmental organizations that offer assistance to illegal immigrants, Fox News reported. So, those Catholic charities, like the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, who had $129 million being sent to them to help facilitate the illegal migration, well, we're going to look into that. We're going to look into that now. And I wonder what she's going to find. Additionally, Bondi is going to be overseeing the litigation efforts of the Justice Department to investigate instances in which jurisdictions are obstructing federal law enforcement's immigration efforts and ordered prosecutions to be pursued when deemed necessary. According to data, there are roughly 220 sanctuary cities in the United States. Pam Bondi is not wasting any time. This comes as a part of a series of directives that she issued upon taking office. Bondi also plans to work with DHS to completely eliminate transnational criminal organizations and cartels, which the United States officially recognizes as foreign terrorist organizations now under the direction of President Trump's executive order. And if you're familiar with Pam Bondi at all and her time in Florida, she is no fan of cartels, and she's going to waste no time, and I expect a lot of effort being thrown this way. Another primary focus of Pam Bondi is going to be combating the weaponization of the legal system. Here we go. Per the directive, Trump's attorney general said she plans to establish the weaponizing work group. The weaponizing work group. So they're going to examine all of these law enforcement operations throughout the previous 4 years in order to find examples of politicized justice. We made the comment yesterday while I was filling in for Dan that the DOJ had been requesting the names of the FBI agents that worked on J6 cases. And, well, they finally handed over the list of names, and it's 5,000 FBI agents. There's 38,000 FBI employees. There's 13,000 FBI agents. 5,000 of those agents were working on J6 cases. Insanity. It's about 38%. Excuse me. Bondi is going to be looking into that, the politicized justice, and the group's first task is actually going to be reviewing prosecutions against President Trump led by Biden's special counsel, Hack Smith, New York Attorney General Letitia James, and District Attorney Alvin Bragg, according to the memo obtained by Fox News. Congratulations, guys. We're looking into what you did. I'm here for it. I also don't want to get my hopes too high, okay? Because I don't know about you, but it seems like every attorney general Trump has had, I was pretty excited about. I was excited about Jeff Sessions, and then I was excited about Bill Barr, and then I was let down by Jeff Sessions, and I was let down by Bill Barr. So I'm excited, but I want to temper my expectations. Now, when you look at the work that the Trump administration has been doing on all fronts, it's hard not to get overly excited when Pam Bondi issues these directives. It's hard. But again, judging from past history, I'm trying to temper my expectations. I'm just trying not to get ahead of myself. You know, let's see where this goes. But I am excited about the potential here. Bondi also detailed in a directive that the responsibility of DOJ attorneys would include aggressively enforcing criminal laws passed by Congress, but also vigorously defending presidential policies and actions on behalf of the United States against legal challenges. This discretion afforded Justice Department attorneys with respect to those responsibilities does not include latitude to substitute their personal political views or judgments for those that prevailed in the election. The memo titled Zealous Advocacy states, when Justice Department attorneys refuse to faithfully carry out their roles by, for example, refusing to advance good faith arguments or declining to sign briefs, it undermines the constitutional order and deprives the president of the benefit of his lawyers. Furthermore, Bondi is going to be reviewing cases where the previous Department of Justice declined to seek the death penalty and will revoke any DOJ regulations that are not sufficiently in line with President Trump's death penalty executive order. Thank you, Pam Bondi. I'm excited. Are you excited? I think this is going to be good. But again, I'm trying to not get overly excited. So she established the weaponization working group. And again, this is within the DOJ. They're reviewing instances of politicized justice. And I wonder if they're already seeing fruits from that tree, because we got news yesterday that the criminal investigation into James O'Keefe over the Ashley Biden diary has been dropped by the DOJ. Yes, the diary that Ashley Biden left behind and was found, that James O'Keefe then broadcasted, they were investigating him criminally for that. You know, the diary where it said that Ashley was taking inappropriate showers with her father up to an uncomfortable age. That diary. Well, they were criminally looking into James O'Keefe for this. That's off the table now. The Department of Justice has dropped its investigation into James O'Keefe regarding that Ashley Biden diary case, concluding the probe without additional criminal charges.
Are they going to give him back his phones and everything else they took out of his apartment?
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
James O'Keefe has been just an absolute firecracker, and he's been swimming upstream the entire time. He's been just butting heads with everybody. I like James O'Keefe a lot. O'Keefe himself announced the development, citing a letter from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York to Judge Annalisa Torres. The letter stated that the grand jury investigation tied to the case was now closed. The U.S. Attorney's Office has officially closed its investigation into the FBI raid related to the Ashley Biden diary case.
This just in, the Justice Department announcing today they are dropping the case against me. There will be no criminal charges in the case of the Ashley Biden diary and the investigation thereof. From the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, the government respectfully submits this letter to notify the court that the grand jury investigation that led to the charges and the issuance of above-referenced search warrant into James O'Keefe's home and his reporters has concluded, based upon information currently available to the government, no additional criminal charges are forthcoming. Accordingly, the government requests the court terminate the appointment of the special master, the Honorable Barbara S. Jones. The court had appointed a special master in this case 3 years ago after they raided a newsroom's reporters' homes.
I'm sorry, so what is this regarding?
This is the search warrant. Just open up.
I mean, we saw so many instances of this where it was just over the top. James O'Keefe is a journalist. He broke a pretty big story. But as we saw over the course of the Biden administration, any big story that was broke was censored, silenced, and criminalized. So that's been closed, and I'm here for it. I think James O'Keefe is fantastic, and I hope that he continues his work. Also, this is pretty cool. You remember the FBI raiding Mar-a-Lago for the classified documents that Trump had? Well, he's getting those back.
Now the breaking news, President Trump is now expected to get back the classified documents and other materials the FBI seized from Mar-a-Lago. Stand by for details on that as the new Attorney General is carrying out Trump's agenda to overhaul the Justice Department. Also tonight is
he's getting his documents back. I love it. I also love how CNN says, oh, the new Attorney General is carrying out the president's agenda. It's like, what is she supposed to not work for the president? Is that how it's supposed to work? And I think we're seeing the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the corruption. I do. I think that we're going to see a lot more develop very, very soon. But Trump getting back these classified documents, that's pretty cool.
Our chief legal affairs correspondent, Paula Reed, is gathering all the details. Paula, tell us what we're learning and what does the law say about this?
Yeah, Jim, now that this case is closed, President Trump is expected to get his stuff back, and that is expected to include some classified documents. Now, the FBI searched his Mar-a-Lago property back in August 2022, and at that time, the FBI found approximately 100 classified documents mixed in with other stuff like birthday cards, golf shirts, and even a photo of Celine Dion. And now that the case is closed.
Not Celine Dion. I thought Trump hated Canada. What are we doing?
There was a process for him to get much of this back, but I think some people obviously have some questions about the classified materials. But now that he is president again, he has broad discretion over classified materials, which is why he is expected to have those returned when.
Yeah, obviously. He's the president. Deal with it. He's getting his classified documents back, whether they like it or not. I also like how, they just nonchalantly say, well, it was about 100 documents. Just 100. That doesn't seem like a lot. They made it seem like there were mountains upon mountains of documents, with the little staged FBI photo ops. They made it seem like he was hoarding classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. It was like a binder, Is that what we were really dealing with? Like a binder full? Okay. Well, they're being returned to Donald Trump. He's allowed to have them. He's taking them back. The classified documents stuff was always just so dumb. So dumb. I mean, Biden had them in his garage behind his very nice Corvette and watered down boxes and just in a house that Hunter Biden also had access to, where he could thumb through those documents while he was peddling influence. That was a much bigger scandal than having them under Secret Service protection and lock and key at Mar-a-Lago. But, we don't need to relitigate that. Donald Trump is staying busy. Pam Bondi has got a lot of work in front of her. She's staying busy, looking forward to what we get from that. And on the way, 9:35, we'll detail what the president did yesterday. Signing the executive order to ban men from women's sports. Again, my friend Morgan McMichael, Turning Point USA contributor, was in the room when they signed that executive order. So we're going to talk to her and get the latest breakdown on, my questions are like behind the scenes. I want to know what it was like behind the scenes. Also, did you see the part where Trump's about to sign the executive order and he calls all the girls over? All these young girls are there. He's like, girls, come on, gather around. He's like, why would Secret Service be afraid of them? It was like a really cool moment. But I just imagine Joe Biden being there and watching it on TV and thinking, imagine the smell. That's what I think. Right? There wouldn't have been a kid in that executive order signing that didn't escape a sniff if it was Joe Biden. Let's be perfectly honest. Oh gosh,
It's
so
a little
funny.
too true.
You know what I mean? Let's be honest. He would have sniffed everybody.
Oh, absolutely. And not even casually. It just been there.
Oh,
Sniffed it up.
just a nostril full of that. Glad we don't have to deal with that anymore.
He's a serial sniffer.
He was.
Man, it's.
Didn't he lick like a baby's foot one time too?
I think so. It's gross.
He was doing that a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot more than it was comfortable to talk about.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We're in a better age for sure.
The kids are safe around Donald Trump. I'll play you that clip when we get back. It's 9:22 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As always, my show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. You need to get yourself a water filtration system or water softener. You need to go to betterwater.com. And listen, get it for your whole home. Do you have any idea what's in your water? Honestly, do you? It could be a lot of bad stuff. There could be sulfur, iron, chlorine, bacteria, E. coli. There could be the nastiest stuff in your water. And then you're drinking it? You're bathing your kids in it? You don't want to be doing this. Find out what's in your water. Contact Better Water today. They'll test your water for free. And if you got some nasty stuff in your water, they offer a full range of water treatment equipment from reverse osmosis unit to water softeners, specialized filters, UV lights, you name it. They're based out of Smyrna, and they treat all of Middle Tennessee. These are the same guys treating the water at your favorite coffee shop, and they do a great job. Call Craig, call Brandy today, 615-355-6063. That's 615-355-6063. Again, ask for Craig or Brandy, tell them Chris Hand sent you, and go to betterwater.com to learn more.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
severe weather or just some thunderstorms. We've got the latest on the forecast. Also, a Tennessee discounter is going out of business. Those stories coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You've been waiting a long time for this. Yeah. So have I. Actually, it was so ridiculous. But here we are. And this doesn't have to be long. It's just all about common sense. Doesn't have to be long. In a few moments, I'll sign a historic executive order to ban men from competing in women's sports. It's about time. Under the Trump administration, we will defend the proud tradition of female athletes, and we will not allow men to beat up, injure, and cheat our women and our girls. From now on, women's sports will be only for women.
You know, when they talked about the future when I was a kid, I assumed flying cars, teleportation machines, yet here we are in 2025, and what we get is an executive order keeping men out of women's sports. I'm glad he did it. It's just not the future we pictured. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. BetterWater.com for your water filters. All right, so did you see how ESPN covered this? This is a sports story, right? This is how you have to cover it if you're ESPN.
Yeah, it makes sense. Everything falls in line with what they're talking about.
ESPN put out a tweet about Trump signing the executive order. And they neglected to use the word men or boys in the tweet. You're banning men from women's sports. They found a woke workaround from using that. I'll read you the ESPN tweet. President Donald Trump will sign an executive order Wednesday designed to prevent people who were biologically assigned male from participating in women's or girls' sports. That's why I don't watch the worldwide woke sports on ESPN, right? It's got to keep the people out.
It's got to keep the people out.
Oh, okay.
Can't have people playing.
We can't. All right.
Well, you want to go to that basketball game? I heard people are playing. Oh, no, they're not allowed anymore.
No, people have been banned. All right.
Ban the people.
We've gotten the woke lunacy out of our military. And now we're very importantly getting it out of women's sports. That's taking place very strongly.
ESPN can learn a thing or two.
So in recent years, the radical left has waged an all-out campaign to erase the very concept of biological sex and replace it with a militant transgender ideology. You've heard a little bit about this, haven't you, huh? Just a little bit? Does anybody agree with them? No. Would be not a good thing to say yes right here. Female athletes have been forced onto the front lines, and men claiming to be girls have stolen more than 3,500 victories. That's a lot. And invaded more than 11,000 competitions designed for women. Last year, a male cyclist posing as a woman competed in the 800-mile Arizona Trail Race, a very big deal in cycling, and obliterated the women's course record by nearly 5.5 hours. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it, huh?
You know, I love how you can hear the audience laughing because everybody knows how absurd it is to allow men in women's sports, yet we've been told for the last 4 years, shut up, bigot. You got these trans women are women. You got to pipe down. Well, common sense is making a comeback in America. And Trump is winning huge on these types of issues. Scott Jennings was talking about this, and he said this is Trump's superpower. He can find these 80-20 issues, and he lines up with the 80. And the left doesn't understand that they're then baited into backing the 20%, the minority of all this, and then they lose because of it. He's slowly dismantling the left by just focusing on common sense. Morgan McMichael was in the room when Donald Trump signed this executive order. We'll talk to her when we return right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 9:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. It's another day that we could experience some severe weather. Although Channel 4's Stefano DiPietro tells us the threat is once again on the low side.
I do think this afternoon and this evening we have a little bit more of a chance of some hailstones compared to what we had yesterday, but that's still overall a decently low-end threat, and the main focus will be on heavier rainfall and wind gusts around 50 miles per hour.
And the timeline looks to be between 2 this afternoon and 8 o'clock tonight. There's more reaction to President Trump's idea to relocate Palestinians away from Gaza, clear out the debris, and rebuild the area into a coastal tourist resort.
President Trump proposed the United States take control of the Gaza Strip.
Level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings.
Trump calling for the roughly 2 million people who live in Gaza to permanently relocate to Egypt and Jordan. A Palestinian resident saying she's anguished at the thought of being forced from her home.
To rebuild it in a way that we see is good for us, not for you.
Hamas responding to Trump's proposal, saying the U.S. will face the entire region if the president follows through.
That's ABC's Melissa Aden reporting. Discount store Bargain Hunt is closing all of its locations, including 30 stores here in Tennessee. The stores are running going out of business sales at all locations. It filed for bankruptcy protection 2 days ago. Early in the trading day, the Dow Jones Industrials are down 76 now. The NASDAQ on the plus side by 28. S&P is up 7 points. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 9:33 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand here for my friends at the Glock store. All right, fellas, Valentine's Day is coming up. What are you doing? You got something planned? Well, if you don't, got a great idea. Aim for the heart this Valentine's Day. How about a couples shooting session at the Glock store? Listen, this is a great excuse to get your wife in there and get her training and get her comfortable around a firearm. You want your wife to be ready to protect herself in this day and age. And the guys at the Glock store can help her get up to speed so quickly. And ladies, maybe you're the shooter in your family. The same can be said about your husband. And I've learned a lot personally at the Glock store from my training sessions. And all month long in February, this is the best deal you're going to find. All right? A couples session. 2 shooters for the price of 1. You book the session at shoot270.com. When you show up, you mention my name, Chris Hand, and it's 2 shooters for the price of 1. This is a private shooting room with a personal instructor, a professional that will tailor the experience and the session to your current level of shooting and expertise. No matter the level, you can learn at the Glock store. 2 shooters for the price of 1. Book at shoot270.com. Mention my name all February long at my place to train, the Glock store.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding. There will be no federal funding. So this will effectively end the attack on female athletes at public K-12 schools and virtually all U.S. colleges and universities. I don't think we've missed anything, but if we do, we'll make it up very quickly with an order.
That was Donald Trump yesterday at the White House. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, Water Filtration Systems, BetterWater.com. Signing an executive order banning men from women's sports. I had a friend that was there while this executive order was being signed. Turning Point USA contributor Morgan McMichael. She's on the line now. What's up, Morgan?
Hey, Chris. How are you doing?
I am good, and I just want to let everybody know Morgan is recently engaged. So I just want to say congratulations once again to Morgan.
Thank you so much, Chris. Yesterday truly was just such a historic day. I feel just honored to have been a part of this day and something I would have never imagined in my wildest dreams. You never know what happens when you live in D.C., I'll say that.
Yeah, it's so cool. I know, like, one of your biggest viral moments was when you were exposing the tuck bathing suits for transgender kids at Target. Yes. And so you've been in this fight for a while. I'm glad that you were there, too. What's the process like to get into the White House for something like this? I know that a lot of people saw what happened on TV, but they don't understand the background. And there were a lot of people in the room. So, like, how did you get invited? What's the wait? Like, how early do you show up? How do you get cleared by Secret Service? I have so many questions that have nothing to do with what happened.
Well, I hopefully can answer them. This was my first time at the White House. I had received correspondence just inviting me to go. I didn't even know that I was on a list. I didn't even know that this would happen. And I was invited the day before, and I found out from a lot of other of my friends and peers that they were also invited the day before, just through an email. You have to just fill out a Secret Service clearance link of just accepting the invitation. And honestly, showing up at the White House when you're already pre-approved and on a list to go into an event It's very easy. They tell you exactly where to go, whether it's the east entrance, the west entrance, the front. You just go through Secret Service, they scan your ID, and off you go through 2 different checkpoints, one metal detector, and then you got to take everything out of your pockets before entering in. So this event was in the East Room, so we entered in the East Wing. I believe it's on the Treasury side. And upon walking in, we were greeted with coat check, with multiple different members saying, welcome to the White House. It was a very beautiful experience, and there was live music being played of the entirety of the event in all of the different waiting rooms. And so next to the East Wing, there is the red, blue, and white room and the green room, which are all just beautifully decorated. I think the one thing that I took away from walking into the White House is how breathtaking it is. It is just so beautifully ornate and crafted. And the whole time you're there is Secret Service everywhere. There's security. You're very, very safe. I think it might be one of the safest places to be in America right now. And you're just kind of walking in, and they kind of guide you where to go. They have water, refreshments, live music playing. And what was really cool is since yesterday's executive order signing was banning men from women's sports, they were playing songs like Dancing Queen and Girls Just Want to Have Fun in
That's
a quartet
hilarious.
style. So it was really cool.
So it's your first time in the White House. Was it surreal? Was it kind of like, holy crap, how did I get here?
Definitely a surreal moment of looking around the room, being surrounded by senators, members of Congress, governors, lieutenant governors, attorney generals, and being like, how am I one of the people sitting in this chair in this room? Because other than invited guests, it was all governors, lieutenant governors, members of Congress, obviously the president, and then behind President Trump was a plethora of young female athletes. Independent Women's Forum was present there. Riley Gaines was there, Concerned Women for America. So all of the pro-women organizations were present. But in the room actually sitting, other than that, was just the press. So it truly was such a surreal moment of just looking around the room, being like, feeling like almost I don't belong here, but then honestly just thanking the Lord and knowing that I have worked so hard to get into a room like this and be able to walk into the White House was an honor.
No, it's really cool. And I get what this executive order means to me as like a dad who has 2 young daughters. I don't want my daughters playing against boys and having it ruin their scholarship chances, or God forbid they get injured. But for somebody like you, who you've been fighting against this ideology now for years, what did this executive order mean to you personally?
For me, it means protecting the future generation, because I don't want my future daughters to have to combat against this issue that we fought so hard for over the last 5 years. And, you know, I'm close friends with Riley, and just seeing how much she has championed this issue and brought it now to the White House is incredible. And I look at a lot of these public schools and private schools when traveling to speak, and I hear these young women who are just agonized by the issue of having men in their locker rooms, having tampons in boys' bathrooms, and affirming this gender lunacy. And so for once, it's like we are standing on the grounds of sanity and common sense and telling the wokeness to go. You know, we're not going to kowtow down to these 1% of people that think that we need to change the way that we live our lives. And we need to safeguard women at the end of the day. And there's a reason that Title IX existed, and the previous administration completely undermined women for 4 years. And so with just a single signature yesterday, Title IX is now protected, and women are protected in schools. And, you know, this isn't just for the female athletes. This is for female businesswomen who may in the future would have had to share a restroom with male colleagues. And it's really unfortunate that this even had to be an executive order. You know, it should have never even had to be an executive order. But to get to this moment where women are now going to be able to compete in their sports and not have to share the podium with a man like Riley had to, compete against a man and be outnumbered with weightlifting, cycling, whatever it may be, you know, this is for women's safety.
Yeah, it's unreal. And I want to focus in on a point you made there. You know, you travel around to high schools and colleges, and you do that quite often. I mean, you know, me and you, we talk about this all the time. You're there all the time. And the past 4 years, you've been there the entire time. What do those girls say about having these men play against them when you're seeing them at high schools and on college campuses?
You know, it's absolutely awful and horrifying because a lot of these girls want to quit and give up because they tell me that it's not worth it. Why would I compete against a man when I know I'm not going to win? Why would I continue to apply for scholarships that I know I'm not going to receive? And it has reversed the merit-based system and instead turned it to DEI and LGBTQ glorification. And that's what these girls have been seeing for the last 4 years, of feeling like, why am I competing? What is this even for? There was a girl yesterday that President Trump shouted out, and I can't remember her name, but she was a volleyball player, and a male athlete spiked a ball, hit her face, and caused her so much injury that she was paralyzed on the right side and had to go undergo surgery. I cannot remember her name.
I know. I've seen that viral video, and it's horrifying.
Yes. And so she was there present in the room along with so many other female athletes that have shared the locker room. You know, Paula Scanlon was on the team with the swimmer, Leah Thomas, or Mr. Thomas, should I say, the one who Riley Gaines shared the podium with, where she rightfully earned first place.
Yep.
But it's like so many of these female athletes have been undermined and their careers have been ended or ruined because of these male athletes. And so finally, you know, the NCAA couldn't stand up for these female athletes. So President Trump had to sign an executive order to save our entire country from this lunacy.
And is it just me? But I think there's like a silent majority that are afraid to be canceled at establishments like the NCAA, where they understand that this is lunacy and they understand that this needed to change, but they were too afraid to speak up. Am I wrong in thinking that?
No, you are absolutely correct. And the issue of gender and transgenderism is actually one of the biggest issues that people lie about their support for, because they fear what the mainstream is going to say about them. So when you actually look at exit polling numbers when they're anonymous, or if people don't have to put their name on something, they're not for men and women's sports. They're not for this gender-affirming care for minors. And so all of these executive orders are actually wildly popular within the American populace. And it is the first time that a president has actually done something about it.
Yeah, Scott Jennings was saying last night on CNN that Trump is the champion of finding the 80-20 issues. Like, that's his secret superpower. And he kind of forces the left to support the 20%. And it's wildly unpopular. But they get themselves in this echo chamber and they get wound up and they think that they're on the right side. I appreciate your fight and what you've done for this and getting this across the finish line. What was the vibe and the energy like in the room when he signed that executive order?
It was just electric. Seeing all of those young girls just run up there and be so excited to see and witness President Trump signing the order was magnificent. Everyone was just cheering. It was one of those moments of just taking it all in and realizing that all of the hard work and advocating that we have done over the last 5 years really paid off. And you know what? All of the issues were just resolved with a single signature, because men are no longer able to compete in women's sports, and that is in law.
It was such a cool moment when he called up all those kids. I'm going to play a clip real quick.
You know, if you'd like to gather around me, I think I'm going to be okay. Come on. Come on.
And these girls rushed the podium. Young girls, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Secret Service is worried about them. If we have to worry about them, we have big problems.
I mean, they rushed that podium. How cool was that?
It was pretty awesome. I was actually standing right on the left side, or sitting right on the left side, filming a video similar to that one, right in the front row. And so seeing all those girls gather around, I mean, it definitely brought tears to a lot of people's eyes in that room, or almost tears. It was truly a beautiful moment of protecting women and being in a room surrounded by so many strong, powerful women, congressmen and women senators. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And all those kids around the president of the United States, and not one of them was sniffed, Morgan.
Absolutely. You are right there. You don't have to worry about that anymore.
Morgan McMichael, Turning Point USA contributor. She's been in this fight a long time. How can we keep up with you, Morgan?
You guys can keep up with me on any social media platforms. You just spell out my first name, Morgonn. You can find me.
Hey,
Thank you, Chris.
I appreciate your time. Congratulations again on being engaged, and thank you again for being in this fight. We really appreciate you, Morgan.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Yes, ma'am. It's 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
couple of high-profile colleges under investigation for the things they did before President Trump took action on transgenders in women's sports. Also, the president takes action today to protect Christians. Those stories coming up at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You guys tired of winning? I'm not tired of winning. Listen, I meant to mention it during the conversation with Morgan, but that Trump executive order banning men from women's sports, it's also been confirmed that Trump is not going to allow men competing against women in the Los Angeles Olympics in 2028. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Carolyn Levitt was asked about that yesterday at her White House press briefing, and I love Carolyn Levitt.
Questions for you on the news of the day. So how is today's executive order going to impact the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles? For example, would a man who thinks that he's a transgender woman be allowed to compete as a female on U.S. soil?
It's a very good question, and the president has actually mentioned this, that he does expect the Olympic Committee and the NCAA to no longer allow men to compete in women's sports. And I think the president, with the signing of his pen, starts a very public pressure campaign on these organizations to do the right thing for women and for girls across the country. Again, this is an incredibly popular position. There have been many notable female athletes who have had the courage to speak out against some very powerful institutions in this country. They deserve to have a voice and a say. The president is bringing their voice to the highest level at the White House this afternoon, and he expects these organizations to comply with this federal executive order that he'll be signing today.
Yeah, so we're not going to have a repeat of the fiasco that the Summer Olympics were in Paris, and I don't think we'll have anything anywhere near to what that intro video was either. You remember that? And then you remember the boxing fiasco? Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a repeat of that. Not one bit. But you know, that being said, we got people pushing back against some of these executive orders. There's a federal judge that is blocking Donald Trump's order to get men out of women's prisons. A federal judge on Tuesday temporarily blocked the Trump administration from transferring trans-identified male inmates from women's facilities to men's facilities. So there's still a fight out there to be had. We still do need to keep women safe, even if these women have been convicted of crimes, in some cases really awful crimes. They still need to be protected from men. It was U.S. District Judge Royce Lamberth in, you guessed it, Washington, D.C. He wrote that there are around 16 trans-identified males being housed in female penitentiaries, including 3 transgender males who brought the suit. Lamberth wrote that the public interest in seeing the plaintiffs relocated immediately to male facilities is slight at best. I think the public wants common sense, actually. And I think that the call for common sense is relatively high, believe it or not. And these common sense policies are winning over a lot of support for the president. And you don't have to believe me. CNN was outlining that. 79% of Americans now oppose men in women's sports, up from 62% in 2021. Americans are getting behind this issue, and whether it's sports or prisons, I think we all understand it's a bit insane. When we return, my friend Bo Diddle is going to be in studio. Story time with Bo. He was at the protest at the Tennessee State Capitol yesterday, and he was at a protest against ICE and deportations in Dallas over the weekend, and he's got some stories to share. Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, hello there. It is 10 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. 68 degrees overcast now, and we are expecting rain, perhaps some thunderstorms to arrive this afternoon. Well, today is the last day for federal workers to decide whether to accept the buyout offer extended by the Trump administration.
At last check, at least 40,000 federal workers had signed up for the buyout, a small fraction of the more than 2 million who've been offered it. Many agency workers we've spoken with say they simply don't trust that the administration would live by the terms of the deal, to keep those resigning on the payroll through the end of September, especially since at this point the government is only funded through mid-March.
ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy. The Department of Education just launched an investigation into potential Title IX violations. San Jose State University and the University of Pennsylvania, along with the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association, they're all under the microscope here. Fox News says, in particular, the University of Pennsylvania's decision to allow transgender swimmer Leah Thomas to compete on the women's swim team is being investigated. President Trump announced some new action today to create a presidential commission on religious liberty, assigning Attorney General Pam Bondi in charge of a Justice Department task force.
The task force will work to fully prosecute anti-Christian violence and vandalism in our society and to move heaven and earth to defend the rights of Christians and religious believers nationwide.
He made that announcement at the National Prayer Breakfast this morning. The rules regarding women's sports need to be codified into law, says Tennessee Congressman Scott Desjardins, and it needs to happen now.
The midterm elections are always, kind of a bellwether of whether we're doing a good job or not. And right now, we can't fumble the ball. We've got to codify these things.
Desjardins on the Matt Murphy Show yesterday. Meantime, the Rutherford County School Board is voting tonight on banning DEI practices throughout the district. Here's sponsor member Caleb Tidwell.
I've been told that Rutherford County is not implementing this practice, but since we're not implementing it, I think it's best to do away with it in case it were to be brought up in the future.
Other board members want DEI banished on a state level first. That's the latest news. We've got weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
.10:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. You know why you need a water filtration system, don't you? Everybody knows why. BetterWater.com. It gets funnier every time I play that. Joined in studio by none other than Bo Diddle, good friend of mine. Bo he covers a bunch of protests, and he makes content for Turning Point USA. And you were at a protest at the Tennessee State Capitol yesterday.
Yes, yesterday.
Okay, turn your mic on right there. Yeah, red button. Boom.
Yes, I was yesterday.
Okay, so these protests were happening everywhere yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Across 50 states?
50 states, 50 capitals.
That's insane. Are they organized?
I don't think they were too organized. And I was looking on Twitter, and there was, I think it was Maine. They had canceled the one in Maine and said that it was trying to make it look small and that whoever was organizing was conservatives, trying to make the liberals look bad and no one show up. So the Maine one canceled, to my knowledge. And then I didn't see much on Nashville, but Reddit. That is where the liberals go to organize.
And Reddit's been absolutely unhinged lately. They're calling for the death of the DOGE kids and Elon Musk. Reddit is a leftist breeding ground. It's a cesspool.
I had no clue it had so much traction, but I saw a link to Reddit, and so I clicked it. There were 74,000 members in like the Nashville group. And when I saw that, I was like, I can't miss it. I got to go.
So do you think... A lot of people are like, they see these protests pop up. They're like, oh, this is another Soros-funded protest. But you think this one may have been a bit more organic?
Yes and no. It's too hard to speculate. I do think that there was probably some backing there, but I don't think that it was money that got everyone there. I think a lot of it was...
Useful idiots.
Useful idiots, people talking to people saying, hey, that we're having a protest, which... I didn't hear about till day of, but I guess some people were planning this for a long time.
And these channels where they plan the protests, they're like out of sight. If you don't know where to look for them, you're not going to find them.
Yeah.
Because even you sent me an Instagram link and you're like, look through this. And I was looking to try and find protests. It's hard to find these things.
It's very hard, yeah.
So you're saying a lot of this is organized on Reddit?
This one was, I can tell you that, from Nashville. The one in Nashville definitely was. Other ones, I'm not so sure, but... I need to start looking at Reddit more.
Good to know. So what time did you get to the protest at the Tennessee State Capitol?
Like an hour after. It started at 1:30, it's like 2:30.
Okay. What was your initial reaction when you showed up? It's you and your camera guy, Gabe.
Yeah, so my cameraman, Gabe, he was there about 10 minutes after it started, so he saw the bulk of it, and he was there when they were actually at the Capitol. I didn't get to show up until they started marching. It was very weird because they were just doing circles around Broadway. And they were only on the sidewalk. They didn't even have the ability to shut down the roads, which most protests, if they have any type of significance at all, they're going to shut down the roads.
Like the deportation protest in California where they shut down the highway.
Yes.
Insane.
That one, Dallas, they shut down the roads. This one, they were just marching down the sidewalk. So anyways, I join in, immediately get screamed at.
They recognized you?
Immediately, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And
is that happening to you more and more at these protests?
Well, it's Nashville. That's the reason. Because I've been doing Nashville protests for so long. So they're kind of on to me. And I just so happened, the one from Columbia, Tennessee, I had a interview with one girl or guy, and it didn't go too well. She needed medical treatment because she wasn't ready for like the interviews. I guess the camera scared her. She started blaming me, screaming at me, saying I put her in the hospital, and she was just going ham on me basically the entire time.
So that's as soon as you showed up to this protest?
Yeah, it just so happened the first person I see is the girl that went to the hospital after my interview.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. What was your initial reaction of the protest? Were you impressed by the size? Because you've seen a few protests in Nashville.
Well, for Nashville, somewhat impressive. For most protests I'm at, not impressive at all. I would say 200 people there, so nothing crazy, but I mean, they had some people.
I retweeted the video on X, and people were like, this doesn't represent the majority of Nashville. I kept getting these replies. I'm like, yeah, I understand that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, without a doubt, we're a very conservative state, but we do have these radical elements that are being imported to our state.
And there was a lot of people there from not in Nashville. So Knoxville, I saw a lot of people. They were talking about being from Knoxville. I don't know how familiar you are with Knoxville, but that is like close, in my opinion, close to Memphis in terms of liberal population.
Really?
You got UTK there. Knoxville pride is insane. So I think Knoxville is able to breed a lot more liberals than people want to give credit to. And I also saw buses were bringing people over.
Really?
I saw it online. I didn't see buses in person, but online they were talking about buses like from Knoxville bringing you over to Nashville.
So they're bussing people in.
Yeah.
So that's not as organic as one would think.
No.
It feels pretty forced.
Yeah, definitely forced to a degree. I would say people showed up on their own will, but a good number, I would say, came from Knoxville.
I was looking at the footage that you guys put out, and for me, it's like, I kind of look away from the women for a second, but I'm looking at the guys, and it's like beta soy boys, and then some guys who are like, I don't think you're politically aligned with this at all. I think you're just there to try and meet women.
Yeah, you're not wrong. There was a bunch of people. There's one of the first interactions. This guy's on a megaphone. I promise you. Now, Gabe was telling me I'm wrong, that he's a black guy. He was as white as snow.
I saw that guy.
And he was chanting the N-word. And I'm like, is no one going to say anything? Like, it's okay for him to say it, but if anyone else says it, like, they're going to get attacked, maybe even more than that. It just kind of blows my mind what, if you say or claim you're a liberal, what you can get away with.
Yeah.
So if you're on the opposing side and you say the exact same thing he does, you're getting potentially a lot more than attacked.
Yeah. Well, I played a clip earlier today for Dan in the morning show. It's Jasmine Crockett, and she's like, I'm tired of these mediocre white boys and their white tears over DEI. And I was like, imagine Scott Jennings saying that.
Oh, yeah.
And reversing it. He wouldn't make it to the commercial break.
No.
His career would be over. And the same thing goes for these protests. If a conservative says a lot of what these liberals say, just reversed, you're done. You're cooked.
Oh, yeah. The stuff he was saying, you always have to watch the video back. It was crazy, though.
Where can we find these videos?
It's not released yet.
It's not released yet.
Not released yet. So it'll be on Frontlines, hopefully. It'll be on my main channel eventually.
Okay. And then so this was just your second protest of the week. Over the weekend, you were in Dallas.
Yes.
And Dallas seemed to me like a much bigger situation. A little bit more intense.
A little bit more intense, to say the least, yes.
You were threatened to be shot.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not always the best way to go about your day.
And what sucks is I couldn't hear the beginning part because she came up to me screaming, so I could only hear so much. And all I heard was you could get shot.
And it's a white woman in a kiffah.
Yes. To my knowledge, she wasn't religious. She was just trying to cover her face.
And she's screaming at you.
Top of her lungs.
Because she's the only one that's speaking up for the minorities?
Supposedly, yeah. It just doesn't make any sense to me, though, because she was more angry, or one of the more angry people there. So you would think that the minorities could speak for themselves. They're at the protest, that they would be the ones that are as angry as she is.
So set the scene on Dallas, okay? It's an anti-deportation protest.
Mm-hmm.
What time are you getting there? How many people are there? What's the scene?
So said it started at 2, so we showed up at 2. It was weird. So there was like a main spot with people with flags, and then if you keep walking to the Dallas City Hall, there are people just standing, no flags. And they're just listening to like a speaker or something like that. I think at one point they were listening to music. So it was kind of odd because it was like there was no people in the middle. There was just people holding flags on the sidewalk, probably about 100 of them, and then another 100 just standing listening to speakers. So we started over there, and then when people started to catch on that, we're not on their side, we went over to the other people. We're talking to them. And then the march starts. March is when things are getting crazy.
And it's important to point out that you have to kind of play like you're a liberal to get any kind of interaction with these folks.
Yes, that's your only shot.
I saw it at one protest. This was actually at the Dallas protest. It was the reporter from The Blaze, Sarah Gonzalez.
Sarah, yes.
She was. It looked like the anti-Jewish protests on college campuses. The way they just block her from entering even the area where the protest is happening, because they know she's not on their side.
Yes.
So you have to kind of play like you're a liberal, and then at a certain point they start to catch on.
Yeah, I think hindsight 2020. I shouldn't have been watching Sarah as much as I was, but I was trying to pay attention to her. And she walked in completely normal. She was just taking footage. Any other journalist, she wasn't asking questions. She was just filming. Well, about 10, 15 minutes later, I look over. I'm in the middle of an interview, and I'm like trying to cut it short because I see them crowding her, and they're just forcing her out. And to my knowledge, I can't verify this, but she didn't say anything. They just caught on. You know, she's big in Texas politics. And so they knew who she was, cornered her, wouldn't let her in. And then there was this one guy, so vulgar, and he kept talking sexually about her. It was just, is this how you want to portray the liberal side?
The tolerant left.
That, you know, he's just making, oh, your boobs are fake, your butt's fake, you know, making all these sexual claims on her. When does he think that makes him look better?
It's insane.
Yeah.
So you're there, and again, this is the anti-deportation protest in Dallas, where to protest being deported, they wave Mexican flags and burn American ones.
Yes, and you can't make it up, too. I would argue probably 1/4 of my interviews, no English was spoke. I would ask them questions.
Really?
They would say, like, no hablo inglés. They would just could not, but they weren't just trolling. They were being so serious.
Really?
Yeah, it was just, how are you going to protest when you don't even understand the words that are being protested?
Where's ICE in that situation?
You would think they would be at all of these protests.
I would think it would be easy.
Prime spot.
They're all there.
Yeah.
So when you get into that protest, what do you kind of do to keep yourself safe? Do you get nervous at certain times?
I didn't get nervous until the march started. So it was fine throughout, which there was a few people that I tried to stay away from.
And they kind of look like the usual suspects, the Antifa, the black bloc gear.
Don't judge a book by its cover, but I would look at these people and, you know, the whole like sagging pants with your hands in your pants, kind of making it look like you have a gun.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of these people were doing. And I was staying away from them because, you know, that could just be their look. A lot of people have that look, but I'm not going to risk it. So I stayed away from them. I even stayed away from talking to people close to them just in case they overheard my questions. But yeah, that was where it got a little bit dangerous. It got mostly dangerous during the march and then when they were protesting again at the very end somewhere else.
So explain what very dangerous is.
So there was two people that really stuck out in addition to the people I earlier mentioned. One person, he just had a very blank stare. Like he was...
Like medicated almost?
I don't know if it was medicated or if he just looked like, I don't care what happens. You know that look of someone that's just kind of evil?
Yeah, willing to snap at a moment's notice.
He just had that look. And so I kept kind of looking at him because he was following us around. And so
you're getting followed by these people. At a certain point, they recognize you're not with them, and now you're being followed.
Right. Yes. And so Gabe, my cameraman, when I'm doing interviews and we're marching, a lot of the time he has to walk backwards. So he's walking backwards, and that guy sees him walking backwards. He gets right behind him, so Gabe will run into him.
Yeah.
He turns around ready to snap. I thought he was ready to pull a knife, pull a gun, start throwing hands. I don't know what he was going to do, but it looked like he was going to do something. Thankfully, nothing happened, but he continued to follow us around. So he was one guy, and then in the major clip that I posted on my X.
And what's your X handle?
Diddle TV. He was, again, arguing with another guy, and that's when the white girl with the... Kiffa showed up and started screaming to death at me. And so she was the other, I don't want to say dangerous one, but she was saying that there were people with her that, you know, could do some bad stuff. I don't think she was dangerous. I think she was one of those woke white liberals that are just insufferable to listen to.
There's a lot of those at these rallies.
Where she's talking about how no one will understand what it's like being white while she is white.
All right, so we're with Bo Diddle, who's a good friend of mine. You're not stopping, though. You got another protest this weekend?
Chicago.
You're going to Chicago?
Chicago.
Okay, what's the protest this weekend in Chicago?
Illegal immigration again.
Okay.
ICE protests.
Do you think Chicago is going to be more dicey or less dicey than Dallas?
I want to say less. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to do Dallas again. That was dangerous. But if I know Chicago, it's going to be more. So.
All right. Will you come back and give us an update on Chicago after you do that?
I'll be back.
All right. Bo Diddle, where can we find you?
Diddle TV on X and Bo Diddle on Instagram and YouTube.
And it's Dittle.
Yes, Dittle. It's
Bo
Diddle, not Diddy.
Bo Diddle. It is 10:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Federal workers have until the close of business today to accept a buyout offer. Also, the washed out portions of I-40 are about to reopen, but there's some information you need to know about it. That's all coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. 10:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand. So a lot more is being exposed by the DOGE kids. Elon Musk. Politico was being propped up by USAID. USAID. You know, it has nothing to do with aid. It's the Agency for International Development. Politico, the Post-Millennial Reports, isn't the first name that comes to mind when you think of state-backed media. You think of NPR, right? National Public Radio. You think of PBS. But not an Inside the Beltway, founded in 2007, bought by a German media group in 2021. Publication, you know, where they're in the U.S., the U.K., the Canada, and the EU. But Politico has been funded by the U.S. government through the purchase of subscriptions that were used across multiple agencies. Insane.
Nothing suspicious here.
Nothing to see, right? Nothing to see.
To the tune of $500,000.
Even more in some cases.
Yeah. And it's not just Politico. New York Times, the BBC. It goes on and on.
Yep. Carolyn Levitt addressed it yesterday at her press briefing.
USAID has gotten a lot of attention the last couple of days with some of these bizarre things that we've been, taxpayers have been funding. Now it looks like there are a couple media outlets that have been dragged into this conversation as far as USAID funding as well. Does the president have any comment on that?
So upon coming out here to the briefing room, I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room.
I love that she says that, and she kind of glances over to the seat. Who has a seat in this room?
And I can confirm that the more than 8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The DOGE team is working on canceling those payments now. Again, this is a whole of government effort to ensure that we are going line by line when it comes to the federal government's books. And this president and his team are making decisions across the board on, do these receipts serve the interests of the American people? Is this a good use of the American taxpayers' money? If it is not, that funding will no longer be sent abroad, and American taxpayers will see significant savings because of that effort.
Yeah, and Lord willing, it gets done. I mean, the Doge kids are going line by line. Carolyn Levitt addresses it there. Do you know that NASA also was spending $500,000 on Politico subscriptions?
Well, there's also an update to this that Elon Musk just posted.
Really?
WikiLeaks says USAID was funding over 6,200 journalists across 707 media outlets and 279 media NGOs.
It's insane. They were pushing propaganda.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's wild.
That includes 9 out of 10 media outlets in Ukraine. That's our That's our money. That's our taxpayer dollars.
Slava Ukraine.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to prop up propaganda outlets, right? Who wouldn't want sex changes for kids in Guatemala, right? This is what the Democrats are yelling about today. Why are the Democrats so mad about this? Carolyn Levitt was asked.
Democrats who are out there pretending to be outraged about the long list of crap that this administration is cutting, federal waste and funding, like $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala, $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt, $20 million on a new Sesame Street show in Iraq, $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan.
Well, the disinfo in Kazakhstan has been a problem for decades. Have you seen the Iraqi Sesame Street?
No, I haven't seen it.
I subjected myself to some of it last night. I couldn't help it. I'm a glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
I don't watch the real Sesame Street because it's too woke. But I found myself watching Iraqi Sesame Street last night. There were clips posted on X. It's weird, man. It's really, really weird. It makes you feel very uncomfortable. Also, just to go off on a tangent, Sesame Street has been so systematically dumbed down over the years.
Oh, it has. You're right.
We get an HBO Max subscription for free because, they use free subscriptions to puff up the numbers in their base and their subscription numbers, right? So we got it when we got our internet years ago when we switched over to, I think it was AT&T. But anyway, so one of the things that they have is old Sesame Streets.
Oh.
If you watch the Sesame Streets from the 70s versus the Sesame Streets from today, night and day.
Yep.
They've systematically dumbed it down. All right, I didn't mean to get off on it.
There was a lot of counting, a lot of numbers. It was a learning experience for kids.
Yes.
It's not anymore.
No, I didn't mean to get off on a tangent. Let's let Carolyn Levitt continue.
Tangents are good.
I could go on, and I'm happy to provide this list to every single one of you. Democrats are outraged that the American people want to be, they want their taxpayers going to good uses, not stuff like this. But then they're very quiet about the fact that there are still North Carolinians and people in California who have lost everything. And in the last 4 years, this federal government did nothing to help them. This president will continue to put Americans first. And I think the successes of this week so far speak to that. And it's only Wednesday. So I'll see you guys later this week.
I love Carolyn Levitt. And I love that she calls out Democrats there. You know what she essentially is saying? Your boos mean nothing because we've seen what makes you cheer. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
10:30 now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Got your forecast just ahead in about 2 minutes, but want to let you know that we're at 69 degrees overcast now and expecting some storms later. New numbers on those buyout offers for federal workers. We've just learned that 40,000 federal civilian employees have now agreed to leave service. That's about 2% of the workforce. And today is the deadline to take that buyout or risk being fired.
Federal employees received those buyout offers with an email titled "A Fork in the Road," the same subject line billionaire Elon Musk sent to Twitter employees when he took over the company in 2022. Democrats warning employees should proceed with caution. On Capitol Hill, sounding the alarm about Musk and his massive reach into the federal government.
I move that the committee subpoena Elon Musk to come before it as a witness at the earliest possible moment.
The hearing quickly turning into a shouting match.
And the move to subpoena Musk failed, by the way. That was reporter Rachel Scott. Metro Nashville Police Chief John Drake wants state lawmakers or even Congress to make changes to the school safety laws. In particular, he's concerned about the role of social media in school shooting incidents, like what happened last month at Antioch High.
About 8 a.m. The morning of the incident, he posted on social media that it was all going to go down at 11 a.m. And 32 people liked it, but no one called. No one said, hey, this may happen. And it happened.
His comments at the Interdenominational Ministers Fellowship recently. Drake believes an algorithm could pick up those threats and alert law enforcement. Drake says he's met with some movers and shakers recently, and he hopes to get action on it soon. It's been over 4 months since Hurricane Helene washed away parts of Interstate 40 at the North Carolina-Tennessee state line. Well, now the section that runs through the Pigeon River Gorge is set to open this spring. Crews still need to work there, so traffic will be reduced to just 2 narrow lanes, one in each direction. That'll give crews enough room to keep working. And watch your speed there, too. It'll be just 40 miles an hour through that stretch. That's the latest news. Weather is up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
He's describing what is currently the dumbest strategy in politics, which is Democrats taking the 20% side of every 80-20 issue in America. USAID, people want this pared down. They want it streamlined. They want to know where the money is going. Democrats have a meltdown. Today, Donald Trump signs executive order on keeping boys out of girls' sports. Democrats take the 20 side of that issue as well. All these issues, this is like Trump's superpower, finding a bunch of 80-20 issues, getting on the 80, and everybody who's sort of reflexively against him gets on the 20. And now the Democratic Party has like a 31% approval rating. This is why.
That's Scott Jennings on CNN. You're getting on the wrong side of every issue. This is why your approval ratings are flatlining. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris and. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Thanks again to my previous guest, Morgan McMichael. She was in the room when Trump signed that executive order banning men and women's sports. Thanks again to Bo for coming in a moment ago. He's on the ground at a lot of these anti-ICE protests. He was at the Tennessee State Capitol yesterday while these radical leftists who are being bussed in from Knoxville are screaming about Elon Musk, President Elon Musk. Do you know what they were actually screaming at the protest in Tennessee? No, not that. But you can hit it again one more time for the people at home. Thank you. All right, one more time, and that's it. Perfect. I think 3 times is good. But what the protesters were chanting at the protest in Nashville yesterday, they were chanting, "Denied, defund, depose," which is, Luigi Mangione, his calling card. They're essentially they're threatening people, right? That's what they're doing. They're threatening these billionaires. But that's what they chanted. That's what they chanted. Deny, defund, depose. Deny, defund, depose. Okay. All right. Some of these are useful idiots. Some of these people, I think, are getting paid. Either way, we're getting to the bottom of where the money is going, and it's making a lot of people upset at Elon Musk. I mean, nobody elected Elon Musk except for the fact that it was like the end of August when this was first discussed, August of 2024, that Elon would go line by line through the government and find waste, find fraud, cut spending. It's what he promised to do, and people are still so shocked that he's doing it. I guess maybe they're shocked that a politician is keeping his promises. But that's what Trump does. Promises made, promises kept. Bobby in Nashville, you're up first on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Bobby?
Hey, Chris, I just want to shout out to you again, brother, the great job you guys always do there at the radio station and elsewhere. But let's get in with this money that's being distributed out to everybody that Elon Musk is finding out about. I believe the reason they're really upset is because if you check the money trail where the money was going and who it goes back to, I would say 90% of them is Democrats. But here's the deal. I want to know where the money's going, how much Medicare, how much Medicaid is going to the illegal immigrants when they come over here. Because when they come over here, I mean, they're just given a card, they're given a phone and everything else. And I hope that we can get the president or the press secretary to go on live TV with a list and say, hey, the money's going here, the money's going there. I believe we're going to find a lot out about the Democrats, my friend. I just want your take on it.
I'm with you, Bobby, and you know what? This is going to please you very much. Elon Musk has recently secured access to Medicare and Medicaid. DOGE aides have access to the payment systems at the agency that oversees Medicare and Medicaid. Elon has said big money fraud is happening in Medicare, and he's directed the DOGE kids to take a look into the payment systems, and this is what we need to do. And we need to take a look at what's going on with Social Security, too. John Kennedy once said that there are at least 6.5 million Americans on Social Security who are at least 112 years or older.
Let me give you an example of how screwed up the data is, Mr. President. This is a strong indicator of what's wrong. The Social Security Administration, if you ask them, will tell you that there are, according to their records, there are 6.5 million Americans living today in America who are 112 years of age or older. They say there are 6.5 million Americans who are at least 112 years old or older. Now, I don't know about you, Mr. President, but I don't know anybody who's 112 years old.
The math ain't mathin'. It just isn't. We're going to get a lot of people looking at this. Elon has secured access to Medicare, Medicaid. They're looking for that big money fraud that he says is happening. It's going to be wild, and they're going to be yelling about it. They're going to be so sad about it. They're going to be downright pissed. Deal with it. Deal with it. You know, we're going to see more protests, but they're getting to a lot of corruption. They're getting to a lot of fraud. They're getting to a lot of waste. And senators are out there still lying. Dick Durbin was on X, and he said they're cutting Medicare, Medicaid. They're cutting from Head Start centers in Illinois who aren't able to pay their employees in rent because the funding freeze locked them out of their funds. Except he's lying. He got called out for lying. Head Start is not receiving federal funds. They're not frozen out. The USAID stuff is just insane. I mean, we could spend an entire show on the fraud that's been uncovered in USAID. You heard Joan when we were talking a moment ago about WikiLeaks and the amount of money. USAID was funding over 6,200 journalists across 707 media outlets and 279 media NGOs, including 9 out of 10 media outlets in Ukraine. This is for propaganda purposes. And then, I don't know about you, but paging Pam Bondi, Michael Schellenberger, with an absolute bombshell that USAID and the CIA are linked to Donald Trump's impeachment. He broke this down very quickly on Jesse Waters last night, but there's a longer version of this from Michael Schellenberger on my X account, at Chris Hand on Air, if you're interested.
You have this new piece on Substack that the USAID and the CIA helped orchestrate Trump's impeachment?
Yeah, I mean, Jesse, it's a crazy story. I mean, you might forget that, the House of Representatives impeached President Trump in December of 2019. Many people may not remember that it was a CIA analyst who was left over from the Obama White House who wrote the memo that led to the impeachment. It was all based on hearsay. The person had not actually been in the room with Trump. Nonetheless, this memo that he wrote relied heavily on a report done by an organization funded by USAID. In fact, its initial founding funding, I mean, now it's tens of millions of dollars, had gone into this group called the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, a name that's not very memorable, OCCRP, but it was basically created as an extension of the State Department and then of USAID. And as you know, Jesse, this is very serious to be involved in an effort to do regime change at home.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's an understatement. But this is where we're going to need some Pam Bondi action right here. Do some digging. So if you're keeping score at home, not only are we funding the propaganda that's demonizing Donald Trump, but if Michael Schellenberger is correct, well, we're funding the impeachments against Donald Trump as well.
As we've been discovering, as the files have come out with what Elon Musk has been doing, we know that USAID was really about regime change abroad. It was a kind of public-facing part, regime change operation like CIA, but not covert, more overt. Well, now you see a similar blowback, just like they did censorship abroad and brought censorship tools back home. They were doing this sort of thing abroad, creating a predicate essentially for Trump's impeachment. So I think it's just one of many revelations that we'll see coming out in the next few weeks.
So USAID was involved in regime change abroad and here at home. Very interesting. If you want to read more about what Mike's talking about, go to his Substack after the show. Don't go right now. Go.
Yeah, and again, after my show, you can go find a longer Michael Schellenberger clip where he's talking about exactly how they organize that. It's fascinating, and it's something that we need to look into. We absolutely need to look into. Donald Trump on True Social, he posted on his X as well. Looks like billions of dollars have been stolen at USAID and other agencies, much of it going to the fake news media as a payoff for creating good stories about the Democrats. The left-wing rag known as Politico seems to have received $8 million. Did the New York Times also receive money? Who else did? This could be the biggest scandal of them all, perhaps the biggest in history. The Democrats can't hide from this one. Too big, too dirty. Yeah. Everything is going to be brought to the light. Steve in the borough wants to talk about the money laundering that has taken place. Steve, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, man?
Okay, yeah, how you doing? Hey, listen, I know you talked about this and other people. You know, a lot of people used to wonder, you know, why Joe Biden would continue to send so much money to Ukraine. And I think the man in Ukraine is getting ready to come clean since Donald Trump is in the White House. I don't know if I'm pretty sure you heard the story. This guy Lozinski is saying that he received $70 billion, but there was supposed to have been $170 or $180 billion sent. So people are saying, where is the rest of this money?
Yep.
And the question is that they don't call Joe Biden the big guy for nothing. Remember when he had the deal going on with his son over there with the other deal that they had going on before we got in the White House, and they said that Joe Biden had a good cut of the money, and they were calling him the big guy.
Yep.
I believe that this money that Joe Biden said he was sending to Ukraine was funneling his way back to good old Joe Biden and his family and all his cronies in Washington, the Democrats. And I believe that a lot of this money that was supposedly sent to Ukraine found its way right back to the U.S. into Joe Biden's pockets because that's what people are saying that are investigating. And hopefully Elon Musk and Donald Trump's people, the FBI, and everybody else will get involved. And like I said, I told you this a couple of weeks ago, Joe Biden is still not sure if Joe Biden pardoned himself or not. Joe Biden, if he didn't pardon himself, it would be the worst move that he ever made in his life.
He didn't pardon himself. He didn't.
What'd you say?
He didn't. He didn't pardon himself.
Yeah, that was a bad move by Joe Biden because if Donald Trump goes after him, I guarantee you he's going to find that Joe Biden did some dirty dealing with that money with Ukraine, and I hope Joe Biden gets exactly what he deserves right behind the jail in a jail cell where he belongs. I don't care if he's 80 or 90 years old. If he broke the law because he was trying to put Donald Trump in jail for the last 4 years. So whatever happens to Joe Biden is his own damn fault, and I thank you for taking my call.
I appreciate Steve. To quote Joe Biden, no one's above the law. Here's the thing. This happened. This broke on the 2nd of February. And if the news cycle right now, you blink and you miss it. But Steve is exactly right. Ukrainian President Zelensky said that Ukraine only received about $75 billion of the $177 billion in aid that was allegedly sent from the United States. And he was quoted saying, "I don't know where all this money is. We never received it." So he's claiming that over $100 billion, Zelensky is, of U.S. military aid is missing. He says it was never delivered. Okay. I mean, I would start asking the pro-Ukrainian politicians if they have any idea. Maybe they have an idea. Maybe they can look into it. Maybe Pam Bondi can look into it. I think we're witnessing the tip of the iceberg. And as Pam Bondi gets settled in her seat as AG, and once we get Kash Patel in there as FBI director, I think that what we've seen so far is going to be small potatoes, my friends. Small potatoes. I think that this is just the primer, and we're getting ready for the main course, which is coming, whether they like it or not. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I'm here for my friends at USS, United Structural Systems. Does the rain stress you out? Does it stress you out because you know where it's going? It's getting in that crawl space. It's getting in that basement. Stop letting water stress you out. Call the best. Call USS. They're your waterproofing experts, and they've been doing this since 1994. They have over 30,000 satisfied customers. Well, how do they get all these satisfied customers? Well, it's because when they show up to your house, you're not getting a sales guy. They have no problem telling you if it's a quick fix and it's inexpensive. And they have no problem being completely honest if it's something big. And if they need to create a custom solution for you, they're well equipped to do that. But you're not getting a sales guy. You're getting a waterproofing expert. And if you see some of the red flags around your house, wet basement walls, cracks in your basement floors, water in your crawl space, that's your house trying to tell you something. You need to call USS immediately because if you ignore that problem, it's not going to go away. It's only going to get worse. wood rot, mold. You don't want that. You want an expert at your home to tell you how to fix it. Call United Structural Systems today, 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, online, USSTN.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Religious Liberty Task Force. I'll tell you about that coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The DOGE team don't stop. It's a DOGE party. They're actually going to be helping with air traffic safety. They announced this yesterday. Secretary Sean Duffy announced this. He said, big news. Talk to the DOGE team. They're going to plug in and help upgrade our aviation system. Elon Musk chiming in, saying with the support of President Trump, the DOGE team will aim to make rapid safety upgrades to the air traffic control system. Just a few days ago, the FAA's primary aircraft safety notification system failed for several hours. So these guys are going to get in there. They're going to start looking at it, and they're going to fix it. Good. I mean, it's a bunch of 19-year-olds. It's very, very smart kids, and I think that they can upgrade this quickly. Hillary Clinton wasn't too impressed with that. She quote tweeted Secretary Duffy's the DOGE team's going to help post, and she said, they have no relevant experience. Most of them aren't old enough to rent a car. Are you going to let them mess with airline safety that's already deteriorated on your watch?
I don't really think she has much to say when she can hardly handle emails going through her computer.
Fair point.
Just saying.
And I love it. She says, airline safety's already deteriorated under your watch. Like, the guy's been, 4 days, 5 days? Like a week? How long has Duffy been confirmed? I think he might have been one of the early ones. So
I think he was on top there.
No more than a couple weeks. Well, Duffy just owned her on Twitter. He said, Madam Secretary, with all due respect, experienced Washington bureaucrats are the reason our nation's infrastructure is crumbling. You need to sit this one out. Based Duffy. Robin in the borough, real quick, has a question on Trump. What's up, Robin?
Hey, Chris.
How are you?
I'm good. This is Robin with Rutherford County Right to Life. We met at the Republican Women.
Yes. What's up, Robin?
Well, listen, I hear you guys talking, and I've called before, you and I have talked before, but anyway, I hear you guys talking about how people are going to be held accountable. And I have loved Trump right from the beginning. I was saying in 2016 he was going to be the next president. Everybody thought I was crazy. But anyway, I've loved him ever since. Didn't like him before. But everybody's talking about how we're going to make these crooks accountable and all the junk. Now, they haven't persecuted President Trump. They persecuted the American people that voted for him and outnumbered the Democrats this time around because God has opened eyes on people. But do you really think that these crooks are going to be held accountable for everything that they have ripped the American people off of?
Well, I appreciate your call, Robin. I do think that we have a better chance now than we ever have. I mentioned earlier in the show, I'm taking it with a grain of salt. I was excited about Jeff Sessions. I was excited about Bill Barr. And I'm excited about Pam Bondi. We understand that the first two didn't really do much, right? So I'm tempering my excitement with Pam Bondi. Do I think they're going to be held criminally accountable? I'm not sure. Is accountability coming? Well, yeah, we're already seeing that. USAID has had funding stopped. Federal employees have to return to the office or accept buyouts or be outright fired. We're seeing a lot of accountability happening in real time. So, yeah, I do think accountability is coming. If the accountability is going to involve criminal charges, jury's still out on that one. But we can hope. It's 11:01 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Could be some stormy weather moving through this area this afternoon. Channel 4's Stefano DiPietro.
It's later on today. We have the risk of a few more strong thunderstorms to an isolated severe storm between 2 and 8 o'clock this afternoon and into the evening. High wind gusts, heavy rainfall will be the main concerns with any thunderstorm. That severe threat is low again, but it does include most of the mid-state.
It is low, but it has been raised to a level 2 out of 5 risk. And it looks like the window of opportunity has been extended until 9 o'clock tonight. We're going to be on it all day. Keep it here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Go into a little bit more detail for you. But right now in our nation's capital,
President Trump says he's establishing a presidential commission on religious liberty. And today he'll sign an executive order designating the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, as the head of a task force to eradicate what he says is anti-Christian bias. The president spoke at a prayer breakfast in Washington.
The task force will work to fully prosecute anti-Christian violence and vandalism in our society and to move heaven and earth to defend the rights of Christians and religious believers nationwide.
As Karen Travers reporting, congressional Republicans knuckling down on a budget plan, with House Speaker Mike Johnson meeting with Trump at the White House today, along with a group of House Republicans. As for President Trump's suggestion on Gaza,
congressional Republicans, including John Thune, saying that in his view, it could shake up the status quo. It could change the Middle East. He was very diplomatic and not fully saying that he was on board with the plan. Speaker Mike Johnson went a little bit further, calling this a quote-unquote bold plan and saying that something needs to be done that's different than the Biden administration's approach. So what we saw was this quick jump to praise this plan of President Trump's, but without much detail.
That's Jay O'Brien reporting. Here in Tennessee, should students have the option of virtual learning after an act of mass violence at their school? 2 Democrat Tennessee lawmakers think so. They filed a bill for it. This mom, Kara Puckett, telling Channel 4 she thinks it's the right thing to do.
If they don't feel safe, how do you expect them to learn? You know, how are they supposed to just pick up and carry on like that didn't happen? And some kids are going to process this differently, and I think they absolutely do need that.
Yeah, the bill, sponsored in part by Nashville Democrat Justin Jones, would require schools to offer the virtual learning option for at least 31 days after events like the Antioch High School shooting. And a second person has died as a result of Tuesday's workplace shooting in suburban Columbus, Ohio.
Investigators still have not said why Bruce Reginald Foster III might have opened fire on his co-workers at a manufacturing facility in New Albany, Ohio. 1 person died at the scene and 5 more were hospitalized. Now one of those people has succumbed to gunshot wounds. Foster has a court appearance scheduled today.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. You need a water filtration system? You need a water softener? Are you tired of the chemicals that they're putting in the water? BetterWater.com. Great sponsor of the show. It gets funnier every time. It really does. It's going to be funny till it's not, and then we'll stop. Yep, exactly. All right, so I wanted to get to this last segment. I ran out of time, but Senator Chris Coons, the guy who told us that Biden is sharp as a tack, the guy who let Biden sniff his daughter's hair and he didn't have a problem with it, and then he defended Biden over and over and over again, the guy that supported the wide open border policy of the Biden administration, that Chris Coons, he's getting to the bottom of it. He's getting to the bottom of everything. And he figured out who wins if Elon Musk is successful with cutting aid.
If Elon Musk wins and our foreign assistance completely ends, who will cheer and who will win? The cartels will win, terrorists will win, Russia will win, China will win.
Oh, you got all the boogeyman's in one statement. I like it. What if he missed Iran? He missed Iran, but heck of a statement.
This effort is not efficient, it is not sane, it is not respectful, and it does not make America safe.
We found the guy that likes transgender operas in Colombia. Oy, that's the type of people that used to be in control of our government. That's it. The people that are in control of our government now, much more sane, much more aligned with common sense. And Donald Trump, speaking at the prayer breakfast this morning, I love hearing this guy, and I love it when he talks about his faith, because I think he has a deep faith and a love of Christ, and I think that he puts it on full display.
From the very beginning of our republic, America has always been a nation founded by people of faith and strengthened by the power of prayer and united by four simple but very beautiful words: in God we trust.
You love to hear it. And listen, I'm of the opinion that God intervened on July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania. I am. But Trump just making the most sense at the prayer breakfast.
After years of decline, Americans are reasserting our true identity as a people ordained by God to be the freest and most exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. But we weren't that for 4 years. I don't believe we were. And we're getting there very soon, very quickly. I'll be able to say it, and we'll be able to say it again. As I said in my inaugural address 2 weeks ago, a light is now shining over the world, the entire world. And I'm hearing it from other leaders. I'm hearing it from leaders that have traditionally not been on our side, that there's so much more, there's such a good feeling in the air, so different than it was just a short time ago. Because here in America, we are once again a nation that believes in ourselves. We believe in our destiny and trusts in the providence. After years.
Yeah, absolutely. We trust in the providence of Almighty God. He's absolutely right. We were in decline for years. And I forget who said it. I think it might have been Tucker Carlson, but he said, whoever it was, the quote was, you know things are going good for the American people when the people that live in D.C. inside the Beltway are in a panic. And you know things are going bad for the American people when the people inside D.C. are very calm and everything's going according to plan. And the last 4 years under Joe Biden, we watched true devastation in this country on all fronts, all levels, from our position in the world to our position domestically. We couldn't even help our own citizens, yet we could help Ukrainian citizens. And the people in D.C., they didn't have a problem with it. Yet now that Trump is back in there, he's putting America first. He's leading with his faith. Everybody's panicked. Everybody's having a tough time. It's wild. But he says it was confidence in America's God-given destiny that got us to this point.
And it was confidence in America's God-given destiny that pushed the pioneers to journey west and led Americans to end slavery, crush fascism, defeat communism, and conquer every single challenge that we faced. And they were very great challenges. Now it's the same time, I have to remember, unyielding faith in America's mission that inspires us to make our country great again. And soon it will be greater than ever. We're doing really well. We're doing really well. It's, I think in 2 weeks they're saying, I'm reading it, so I'm not even saying it, but I feel it, that we've done more than just about any president ever. The first 2 weeks have been probably, they say, the most successful 2 weeks in the history of any presidency. Now all we have to do is keep it going for another couple of hundred weeks.
Yeah, just a couple hundred more. Listen, he's not wrong. I mean, in the last 2 weeks, we've done more than Biden could ever accomplish, ever.
It's just in the number of press conferences.
Honestly, the amount of transparency that we've had, the radical transparency.
See, that's the thing. This is transparency. This is what transparency looks like when a president will sit there and take question after question.
Yep.
And there's no schedule of questioners.
You know what I haven't heard since Biden left office? All right, press, that wraps it up. Everybody out of the room. Everybody out of the room.
Right. The only time I saw him not take questions was after signing the Lake and Riley bill. And he did that out of respect for the family.
Yeah, I mean, the families are having a tough time there.
And they were there.
Yep, and the mom was broken up, and she struggled through that, as all these angel parents have. You know, you listen to these angel moms and dads, it's amazing what they've had to go through. And you know, the left, that they don't have a care in the world. But you start cutting transgender operas in Colombia and DEI musicals in Ireland, and everybody loses their mind, right?
Yeah, this is turning over stones.
And I think it's important to point out, we are just getting started. Pam Bondi was just sworn in yesterday.
Yeah, she already ordered a review of the prosecutions against Donald Trump.
Let's go. And she's, the ending the weaponization in the DOJ.
Yeah.
She ordered the task force, which we're going to get to, ending anti-Christian bias. She's just getting started, and she's tough, man. You look at some of her past interviews about how she deals with the cartels in Florida, her views on the Epstein client list. We're not even in full Super Saiyan mode yet, my friends. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. And we haven't had Kash Patel confirmed. We haven't had RFK confirmed. We haven't had Tulsi Gabbard confirmed. The big three haven't even stepped onto the court. It's going to get wild. If you think the last 2 weeks have been crazy, I think it's going to get even crazier. And Donald Trump this morning saying through all of this, we're just reminded how blessed we are.
These events remind us of how blessed we are to live in a nation that has thrived for 2.5 centuries as a haven of religious freedom, although I will tell you the last 4 years have been very difficult. It would have been a very difficult thing for me to have made that statement if this speech was taking place 2 years ago. My administration is absolutely committed to defending this proud heritage, and I will always protect religious liberty.
You know, there's a thing that I like, and I forget where I heard it first, but it's stuck with me ever since I've heard it. But it was, God won't waste your pain. And he won't. He never will. He won't waste your pain. He can always make something good from your pain. And you look at these last 4 years, and I just tend to think God won't waste your pain. If Trump had won in 2020, we would not have seen the first 2 weeks of a second term like we've seen these past 2 weeks. We just wouldn't have. Because he wouldn't have had the full control of the House, full control of the Senate. It would have been an uphill battle. The impeachments would have been ongoing. God won't waste your pain. Everything happens for a reason. Times have been tough, make no mistake about it, but they're getting better quickly, and it's going to get better drastically. But he also announced that he is creating the White House Faith Office, led by Pastor Paula White.
This week, I'm also creating the White House Faith Office, led by Pastor Paula White, who is so amazing.
I mean, that's pretty cool. He's putting religion first. And he recognizes Noah Argamani, who was kidnapped by the October 7th, by Hamas on October 7th.
For 245 harrowing days, Noah showed unwavering strength and courage and faith as she endured the unendurable, really, what she went through. But by the grace of God, she was rescued by the Israeli Defense Forces, and now she's come back to pray with us this morning, and it's such an honor to have you, and you're really an inspiration, Noah, to all of us. Thank you very much.
You know, it's just cool to have a president that is honoring these people, has coherent thoughts, can hold a conversation, can speak at any time of the day, is always there. He's always working. You know, I made this point when the plane crash happened, that, you know, when the helicopter crashed into the plane in D.C., that Carolyn Leavitt was out there within 30 minutes. And I made the point that, like, you knew Trump sent her out there. And you knew she was out there because Trump sent her and not because Trump was napping. And we hadn't had that for the last 4 years. And it's only going to get better. Trump announcing that he will be signing an executive order to make Attorney General Pam Bondi the head of a task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias in the government.
To confront such weaponization and religious persecution, today I'm signing an executive order to make our Attorney General, who's a great person, she's going to be a great Attorney General, Pam Bondi, the head of a task force, brand new, to eradicate anti-Christian bias. About time, right? Anti-Christian bias.
I mean, it's just a totally 180 from what the last administration was doing when they were, sending FBI in to spy on Catholic churches. Completely different. And it's happening so quickly. I'm here for it, and I'm grateful for the president doing that. You know, he's just been nonstop. And he doesn't even have his team in place. I can't underscore that enough. He doesn't have his team in place. Now, I think that that's a travesty of justice, and I think that they should be rushing these through. But, you know, we don't have him in. We still don't have Kash Patel. Still don't have Tulsi Gabbard. We still don't have RFK Jr. Monumental changes are coming to this country. People voted for radical change. They're receiving radical change, and we're just getting started. It's 11:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I'm here for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They got some winter clearance deals happening for you right now. You can save a ton of money. It's your last chance for low-price installs. They're clearing out all of their 2024 inventory to make some way for the 2025 models, and they're passing the savings on to you. For just $6,997, you can get a 14-SEER, 1.5 to 3-ton split heat pump model if you're willing to pay up front. That is a fantastic deal, and they'll bundle in a smart thermostat for free. That offer limited to the first 25 customers. Maybe you're not there for a replacement yet, and I hope you're not. Let's save you some money. But if you need to maintain your model, well, let Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling take care of your system. Join the Beehive Club today. I'm a Beehive Club member. Just $99 per unit gets you 3 annual tune-ups, 10% on all repairs, front-of-the-line service, a $100 annual accrued replacement credit, no overtime or holiday fees, and exclusive Beehive member promotions. And how about this? You buy one Beehive Club membership this month, you get one free of equal or lesser value. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, BusyBeeHVAC.com.
Hendersonville, we've got a crash, and it is blocking the right lane, 40 westbound before Natchez Trace State Park. Actually, that is Henderson, Tennessee. That is 40 westbound before Natchez Trace State Park. In Sylvan Park, rolling roadblocks, fixing potholes out there. Going to be 40 eastbound before White Bridge Pike, Briley Parkway West, exit 204. President Trump announcing steps to protect religious liberty and prosecute anti-Christian bias. These stories and more at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. 11:25 on Super Talk. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, Water Filtration Systems, BetterWater.com. The wokest DEI government workers and their salaries have been revealed. I feel like I got into the wrong field. I'll be honest with you. I could have lied my way into a DEI office. I get all their talking points. And when you look at how much money they're making.
Oh, boy. I can't wait to hear this.
It's insane. The American Accountability Foundation is working to expose the left's efforts to obstruct, subvert, and sabotage the America First conservative agenda. They launched a DEI watch list, and they're sharing all these people and their salaries. Like Una M. August. She's the Deputy Associate Director for Science at the Office of Health Equity for the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. She makes $151,000 a year.
Wow.
Yep.
And I wonder doing what?
Well, in her role, she's helping to create a multi-year roadmap that intentionally connects health equity, social and structural detriments of health, diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, and belonging, and related considerations to guide CDC science, programs, practices, and policies that incorporate intersectionality, anti-racism, anti-oppression, and global perspectives.
Goodness.
I could fake that. I feel like I could fake that. How about Chastity Walker? She's the Deputy Country Director at the CDC. Chastity makes $161,000 a year. And she spent her career since 2002 working in health equity roles. Got a heck of a resume.
Sounds redundant.
It is. How about John Balbus? He's the director of the Office of Climate Change and Health Equity at the Department of Health and Human Services. He's making $194,000 a year.
I just feel like they're sitting in offices with a bunch of tinfoil hats on and just shouting random things at each other, getting paid that much money.
Either that or they're sitting at home and getting paid.
In hoodies and basketball shorts.
Balbus has actually put climate action and health equity at the forefront of his career, which he explained in Egypt at the United Nations Climate Summit. He said, being an HHS, we can connect up climate action with a broader move for health equity, which has arisen out of the COVID pandemic. We learned a lot of hard lessons in COVID, and one of them is the underlying health disparities in communities that have experienced racial discrimination and have fared much worse during the COVID pandemic. $194K a year.
So this guy makes money creating victims.
Yeah, nailed it. I could do that.
Absolutely.
Chantrice Holloman. Chantrice Holloman, she makes a pretty penny too. She's the strategist at the Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion at the National Institute of Health. Holloman serves as a social strategist at the office there. And according to her LinkedIn, she serves as a liaison between the Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion and several institutes, which also are helping to support diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility across activities at the NIH. That's what I'm saying. Like, we're just getting started. A lot of these losers are CDC and NIH. You think RFK is going to keep this person on? Brian King, director at the Center for Tobacco Products at the Food and Drug Administration. He makes $275,000 a year. And what he does, he brings health equity to the forefront of tobacco product regulation.
Oh, wow.
So when Biden was banning menthol cigarettes, he wanted to ban menthol. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you that was Brian King's idea.
Yeah.
Justania Blackwell. She is the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility and Belonging DIEAB, the DIAB officer at the CDC. I didn't know when did they start adding belonging? I was just getting used to accessibility.
I was getting ready to say, we've got a new one.
I was just warming up to the A added to the end of DEI. She makes $128,000 a year, and her position has been scrubbed from the CDC websites following Trump's banning of DEI in the federal government. But I feel like she owes us some money back. She should return it.
Wow, man.
So again, this is all public information now, and it's thanks to what's the name of the agency? Oh yeah, the American Accountability Foundation, and this is their website they launched, the DEI watch list. So you too could find out how much money you could be making if you were willing to sell away your soul. Just Google it, DEI watch list. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And the risk for severe weather has increased for Middle Tennessee. Not much, but it's still an increase. We're at a level 2 out of 5, according to the National Weather Service. So still slight, but a step above the lowest level, marginal. The timeline for when these storms could pop has increased to 9 o'clock tonight. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Right now in our nation's capital,
I will be creating a brand new presidential commission on religious liberty. It's going to be a very big deal, which will work tirelessly to uphold this most fundamental right.
President Trump at the prayer breakfast this morning.
The task force will work to fully prosecute anti-Christian violence and vandalism in our society and to move heaven and earth to defend the rights of Christians and religious believers nationwide.
And how about a Gaza plan update?
President Trump proposed the United States take control of the Gaza Strip.
Level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings.
Trump calling for the roughly 2 million people who live in Gaza to permanently relocate to Egypt and Jordan. A Palestinian resident saying she's anguished at the thought of being forced from her home.
To rebuild it in a way that we see is good for us, not for you.
Hamas responding to Trump's proposal, saying the U.S. will face the entire region if the president follows through.
That's Melissa Adon reporting. By the way, congressional Republicans, including John Toon, saying that in his view, it could shake up the status quo in the Middle East. He's also very diplomatic, not fully saying that he was on board with the plan. Speaker Mike Johnson went a little bit further, calling this a bold plan, saying that something needs to be done that's different than the Biden administration's approach. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Cover Nash. You know Shane Ring. Shane can save you a bunch of money on health insurance. Do you have health insurance? Do you need health insurance? Are you overpaying for your health insurance? Call Shane Ring today. He could be saving you 30 to 60% on your monthly premiums so easily. Shane shops the entire market for you, and he has over 20 years of experience doing it. He's going to look at over 75 different companies, and he can help you no matter what your income or health situation is. It's time to make sure that you're not being fooled by some call center agent with limited, overpriced options. Shane can easily be saving you money. Some of the plans he can get you on will even pay you when you use them. Call Shane today. Let him know that Chris Hand sent you. He'll show you how much you could be saving today. 615-465-0023. Or you can always hit his website, covernash.com. But the phone number, that's the quickest way. 615-465-0023 or covernash.com to book an appointment with Shane Ring. Get a quality health plan managed by you, not the government.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
It's 11:36, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, True Social, at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. As long as you don't look like a Russian bot, then I'll follow back. And if I don't follow you yet and you already follow me, send me a message. I'll make sure to correct that. We got a lot to get to. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, betterwater.com. You can watch us on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. We got quite a few watching on YouTube. Hello. Hit like and subscribe while you're there, would you please? Do it for my kids. Do it for the kids. We got a lot happening. I made the comment earlier, we don't even have Trump going Super Saiyan yet. He doesn't even have his team in place. You know, we're still waiting on the big three, Kash Patel, RFK, and Tulsi Gabbard. But the ones that are in place, man, they're doing good work. They're doing good work. Rubio had a huge win with the Panama Canal that, I mean, the news cycle is moving so fast, you blink and you miss it. But there was a question about Panama yesterday at the press briefing with Carolyn Levitt, and she pointed out how they are backing away from China's Belt and Road Initiative.
And during his inaugural address, President Trump made it known that the United States cannot and will not allow the Chinese Communist Party to continue with its effective and growing control over the Panama Canal. Following Secretary Rubio's successful first trip and visit there over the weekend, Panama's president said he will allow its participation in the Chinese Communist Party's it will no longer allow the participation in the Belt and Road Initiative. That participation will expire.
So Rubio already got them to back out of participating in the Belt and Road Initiative. That's huge. Make no mistake about it. But also announced last night, Panama is now going to allow United States Navy ships free passage through the Panama Canal. Yeah. Well, our ships get to go through for free now, our Navy ships. That's going to save us millions of dollars a year. And this development comes after Rubio went down there and spoke with them. It's you have to wonder, was the Biden administration doing anything at all? Anything? Or was anything at all? I don't think so. I don't think so. The amount of stuff that's gotten done in the last 2 weeks versus what they had 4 years to be able to do. It's insane. U.S. government vessels can now transit the Panama Canal without charge fees, saving the U.S. government millions of dollars a year. The State Department announced Panama's promised to distance itself from China. This is fantastic. And as we're racking up all these wins, the Democrats are just unhinged and upset. We're saving money left and right. And they're essentially calling for violence in the streets. I played a bunch of clips of Democrats yesterday, all sorts of senators and congresspeople saying, this is war. This is war. Nobody voted for Elon. We're going to take it to the streets. Well, Carolyn Leavitt was asked about that yesterday at her press conference as well, how the Democrats are essentially inciting violence with this rhetoric.
Are the officials here preparing to fight Democratic lawmakers in the streets?
Absolutely not.
So
and thanks for the question.
Some elected Democrats are so steamed about DOGE. Congresswoman LaMonica McIver says we are at war. Ilhan Omar says we might actually see somebody get killed. And Chris Van Hollen says we have to fight this in the Congress. We have to fight this in the streets. So what now?
And may I just point out, if you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about. Because President Trump was elected with a mandate from the American people to make this government more efficient. He campaigned across this country with Elon Musk, vowing that Elon was going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the two of them, with a great team around them, were going to look at the receipts of this federal government and ensure it's accountable to American taxpayers. That's all that is happening here. And for Democrat officials to incite violence and encourage Americans to take to the streets is incredibly alarming, and they should be held accountable for that rhetoric.
Yeah, they absolutely should. And if the shoe was on the other foot, you know that they would be losing their minds over any conservative saying the exact same thing. And they knew this was coming. This wasn't a surprise to anybody. The first talks of DOGE was like the end of August 2024. And then there was tons of promises by Donald Trump on the campaign trail that Elon was going to go line by line through the budget. And then Elon spent about a month in one of the most crucial swing states of Pennsylvania promising to go line by line through the budget. Yet they feigned this shock. What's he doing? What's he doing? Well, get ready. You're going to see a lot more of upset Democrats as the grift is coming to an end, either via U.S. aid or corruption in any other government agency, waste, call it what you want to call it. It could just be waste of tax dollars. But Elon and his team, they're going to look at Medicare and Medicaid. They're going to look at Social Security. They're going to get their way to the veterans, VA. I guarantee you that's coming. They're going to look at the IRS. They're going to look at everything. And these DOGE kids they talk about, as one super texter pointed out to me, they're literal rocket scientists. Yeah, I mean, brilliant. These kids are brilliant. And listen, you have people that would come into government and say, maybe we can change this and make this a little bit better here, make this a little bit better here. No, that's not what we're doing right now. The American people voted for radical change, and radical change is what they're going to get. Promises made, promises kept. But, the Democrats can't handle that. So they melt down, and they call for violence in the streets. And again, if any conservative said this, well, they would lose their minds. You're not allowed to say that if you're a conservative, because you're just not. But this happens so often with the Democrats. So often. Jasmine Crockett was on CNN, and this is another example of a liberal can get away with saying this, but if a conservative said it, it would never fly. Jasmine Crockett was on CNN talking about how a lot of these DEI programs are getting cut. And she said, I'm tired of the white tears. I'm tired of these crying, mediocre white boys. She literally said that. And I thought to myself, if Scott Jennings said that on CNN, he would be fired before they went to commercial break. And this should be viewed in the exact same way. Well, but Jasmine Crockett is a POC and a liberal, and so she gets away with this.
I am tired of the white tears. Listen, if you are competent, you are not concerned. When I walk into Congress every single day, you know why I don't feel a way and why you can't make me doubt who I am? Is because I know that I had to work 10 times as hard as they did just to get into the seat.
Citation needed.
When you look and you compare me to Marjorie Taylor Greene or me to Lauren Boebert, there is no comparison.
I'd agree with that too. Obviously in the opposite way that she means it.
And that is the life that we have always lived. So the only people that are crying are the mediocre white boys that have been beaten out by people that historically have had to work so much harder.
The mediocre white boys. Mediocre white boys. Could you imagine what would happen if on my radio show, could you imagine what a journalist like Phil Williams would say? If I said, stop crying about DEI programs closing down. We're not giving jobs to mediocre black boys. Like, I wouldn't have a show here anymore. But Jasmine Crockett is a liberal, so she gets away with this kind of stuff. She gets away with the race rhetoric. She gets away with this. And liberals constantly get away with stuff that conservatives would never get away with saying. And you know what? I don't know any conservatives that would even want to say something as vile as that. But that's Jasmine Crockett for you.
This is why they don't want us to have education. This is why they are trying to literally say we won't fund the HBCUs, because they know that if they've already gone after affirmative action and they're saying, you know what, don't allow them to come into, say, these PWIs, as we call them.
Premier white institutions. I love what she says. This is why they don't want to fund HBCUs. Yet it was Donald J. Trump who funded them for like a decade. They used to have to come and ask for money every single year. Now, you can make the argument, if you can't stand on your own, free market does free market things, you should collapse. But they would come to the White House every year and ask for money. And it was Donald J. Trump, that literal Hitler, orange man racist, who said, stop coming, I'll just fund you indefinitely. It was Trump that did that. And I'd make the argument that I think Jasmine Crockett is smart enough to know that. But she's also understanding that anybody that's watching CNN at this hour of night is too dumb to know that. And if they're watching CNN, none of this was ever highlighted for them. So they're in the liberal echo chamber. So she's going to make racist arguments and emotional statements and scream orange man bad. That's all she can do. That's all she can do.
To say these PWIs, as we call them, don't allow them to come into these institutions. We know why they created the HBCUs in the first place. It was because they wouldn't allow us into the white institutions. And so now they're not allowing us in. And now they're saying, you know what, we're also going to defund the HBCUs. You know why? Because they don't want any more Kamala Harrises. They don't want any more Jasmine Crockett's.
Well, yeah, I'll be honest. I don't want any more Kamala Harrises. I would rather not have any more Jasmine Crockett's. That is true, but it has nothing to do with their skin color. Also, Kamala, I didn't know she was black. I'm just finding that out. I had no idea. I didn't. Sorry. Yeah, that's okay. He's a liberal. You get away with it, right? But Jasmine Crockett, she is absolutely one of the worst. But it just highlights the hypocrisy. She's allowed to get away with that. Liberals are allowed to get away with everything. If a conservative said anything even close to that, just flipped around, it would be a cancelable offense. Brian in Old Hickory, real quick, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Brian?
Hey, man, what's up? Hey, the first question I'd have for those people, I never even heard of Jasmine Crockett. So now she gets a mouthpiece, I guess, because she speaks their language, whoever they are. But the first question I'd have for her is, do you smoke dope? And you know she does. You know she does, because look at her. My God. Those people that got on TV yesterday that they were highlighting that were just, I mean, it was crazy. We're smiling. I can feel y'all smile through the radio. It's just a good time for us in quotations, whatever us is, ain't it?
Yeah.
It's just a good time, bro.
We just
do a good job. Thank you.
Hey, I appreciate the call, Brian. We just keep winning. And we'll point out the liberal hypocrisy. We'll point out the lies, and we'll do it with a smile on our face. And we're just happy little soldiers. Nothing but humble meme farmers, and we're going to keep doing it here on the Chris Hand Show. It's 11:49 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and momentarily we'll check in with Chad Benson, see what he's got coming up on his show today as we wrap things up here on my show on Super Talk. 11:53 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So that will bring the off-air conversation on air. Ice baths don't work?
Studies have shown it's great for your mind and the discipline to do stuff, but as far as like working, if you're working out super hard and you want to sit in there to relieve some of the inflammation, that's one thing. If you're waking up in the morning thinking it's doing something spectacular for you, it helps your mind, but your body doesn't get anything out of it.
I've heard cold showers can help.
Yeah. You know what the best thing, though, for like if you want to do something is get one of those machines that go down to like, minus 200 degrees and you go in there for like 30 seconds. Man, that's a life changer.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it's crazy good.
Have you ever done a superhuman bed?
No, what's that?
So it's so they have one at this place we go to in Murfreesboro, Borough Holistic Health. It's like the only one in like a 50-mile range, but it's infrared lights, and they put you on an oxygen mask, which is like 93% pure oxygen, and it has an electromagnetic frequency. And they say it's like equivalent, if you heard of grounding, like being barefoot, they say it's equivalent to like a 10-mile hike barefoot.
Whoa.
And you do it for 15 minutes. It brings down inflammation, promotes collagen. I'm probably butchering it. I have a thing of all the stuff it does. My wife loves it. But it's awesome. It's awesome.
Man, that's cool. Yeah. Used to be the big thing was the hyperbaric chambers and stuff that helps you. But they've got these almost cryo things that you walk into, and you have to put gloves on because it is like minus, like we're talking like 150. You can't be in there for more than a minute. Sometimes 90 seconds. Pro athletes will go in there, and you go in and just your underwear and that, and you go stand there, and then you come out. But they say over the next couple of days, your body recovery is out of this world.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's funny because everybody asked me when I was over in Europe playing soccer what it was like. I said, let me tell you what it was like. It was the late 80s, early 90s. Half the guys smoked at halftime. There was no conditioning like they do today. It's a different world. I mean, it wasn't even, we would train for 3 hours a day. Now these guys get there at 7 or 8 in the morning and stay till 6 o'clock at night.
But doesn't it blow your mind that even though like the advances in modern medicine, like, an ACL isn't a career-ending injury anymore,
no.
But I feel like there's more injuries. Or is it just that guys don't play through it?
You know what? It's and that really happened with basketball, right? Where they were managing the loads.
Yeah.
Where Kyrie would only play like every fourth day, and weird stuff because it was all about the playoffs.
And it always seemed to happen when he was playing his former team that he had a load management day.
So I think there is injuries, not as many, because when I played, man, it was. I show my wife like this is what it was like when I was playing. Guys are getting destroyed. Stuff that you'd be thrown out of the game and you'd have a suspension for days. There, it was like, all right, don't do that again. And it was just, it's crazy. But the thing is, the recovery is important. But I've always thought in a lot of these things, it's less about the game now. It's more about like, no matter what it is, it's more about like, okay, this is the system we play in. Can you play inside that system?
Okay. Yeah, but the NBA especially, I was a big NBA fan for a while. And I'll still get suckered back in when the Celtics are doing good. Because I'm a sucker for that.
Well, it's like me with the Lakers. I mean, I grew up in L.A., so
hey, they suck, by the way.
Except for no, beat L.A.
Yeah, they rigged that Luka Doncic trade. Somebody in the back room somewhere said, we're dude, I don't buy it for a second. Their ratings are tanking, and then somehow this young 25-year-old kid who's one of the best players in the league, they don't do a bidding war? Even if you don't believe in his conditioning, you don't do a bidding war for him?
I think there's more to that. I think because he's been injured on a few occasions, they're worried he's becoming the next Zion Williamson, which is never healthy. And they would have had to give him a $365 million.
Zion didn't take his team to the NBA Finals. Zion wasn't all NBA first. He wasn't an MVP.
No. Well, I look over too, and I'm like, I think the Mavericks are a better team now. As far as like they've got a better, they're still going to score some points. But as far as between the two, because I think
the roster's built now makes more sense. Your point guard's defined. You're not splitting time betwing Kyrie and Luka.
Yeah, now you've got two guys on there's not enough basketballs on the court right now.
Didn't the Lakers just trade for another center?
So yeah, but it's still you've got Luka's going to want the ball every time, and LeBron wants the ball every time, and so there's not enough basketballs.
Yeah. But Luka sets them up for the future.
Well, that's the big thing.
And he went from number 6 in jersey sales in the league to number 1 overnight.
Yeah, of course, but I think right now, I still think the Mavericks are a better roster than the Lakers.
I think you could make that argument, but they're not set up for the future.
No, they're not set up for the future.
And if they traded a guy because they didn't believe in his conditioning, They got a guy who's injured all the time anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
And 6 years older.
6 years older, but they don't have to give him $365 million guaranteed, which is
true.
a huge. And that hurt Luka big time. I mean, there's no $365 million coming this summer, and now you're paying 15% more in tax.
Yes.
And your $15 million home that you're going to have to sell already in Dallas is going to be worth $45 million in LA.
Yep.
So you took a pay cut.
If you're making that kind of money, do you go small and just buy like a nice condo and keep the home in Dallas?
Yeah, probably.
Keep that as your
Especially
residence.
if you love Dallas, and he does. I think that's what you do.
Because you can theoretically you could keep that as your residence,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally. And
So you wouldn't have to pay California state tax, or do you have to pay even though you work there? I know Massachusetts is weird. Like you could live in New Hampshire, but if you worked in Massachusetts, you're paying Massachusetts state income taxes.
It's the same thing with California. And plus now they got all those jock rules, the jock tax. So if you go to New York and you're playing for, let's say you're playing for the Predators, you go to New York, that game check, you get New York tax on top of it. So there's no more just going somewhere and just, okay, my salary's this and wherever my state income tax. So everywhere you go, you get taxed.
Taxation is theft.
It is, especially when you don't do the fiduciary thing and treat it right.
This is true.
And again, when I hear people say, government, we need revenue. Revenue is what people produce. You guys take.
Amen. What do you got coming up on the show today?
Renting chickens. Because of the high price of
renting chickens.
Yeah, there's a high price of eggs out there. People are renting chickens now.
I just turned to my left. I see Murphy.
What's he doing? Oh, he's talking with our good buddy Russell.
He's got a ponytail in his hair. I swear to gosh, I looked and I thought,
that's a handsome woman.
I thought, is that Kenny Powers?
Is that Kenny Powers?
That's a low man.
It's 12 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.